Hello everybody and welcome to the Podium tier. This is F1 TS Hub, this is round 17 and we're in United States, Austin, and it's looking pretty sunny out there to me. No one to introduce alongside me tonight, it's just me on solo, but I'm sure these guys are going to give me plenty to talk about for this qualifying and race. Yeah, round 17, so not many left to go before the end of season 10. And it didn't seem that long ago that we were only beginning in Australia, but lots has happened since then. Just to quickly bring you up to date on the drivers, Tejwar in currently down 16th place. He's taken over in the Mercedes for tonight and will be for the rest of the season. So big welcome back to him. He scored the first pole position in Australia, the first race of the season. So yeah, he's back for some vengeance. And we've also got the championship rivals all here except for Lemaine, so it's going to be interesting to see exactly who's going to finish where. Look at the queue of cars coming out into the pit lane, so plenty of action on track already as we're seeing everyone except Emphatic fit the Ultra Soft and the quickest tyre compound. So Ultra Soft, Super Soft and Soft are the ones available for the race today. And hello to everyone watching. As I mentioned, this is the Podium tier, live every night at 7 PM, and it's looking to be 4 races left, 100 points up for grabs. Who's going to take the maximum tonight? It's time to find out who's going to start in the front row, which is going to be the best place to start come the race. But this has always been a fantastic track. Austin always provided lots of great battles throughout the F1 TS Hub history. Unfortunately, not all the drivers like it. It's stolen some parts from other tracks, but we won't talk about that now because I'm sure this is going to be another cracking race here at season 10, and we know these podium drivers never disappoint us. So let's ride on board with some drivers and see who's going to be the first driver to start a lap. And we can so Jonas is looking like one of the first, so we'll follow him for a bit. He's got one of the Toro Rossos just behind. So McLaren followed by Toro Rosso, and this first section, of course, made up of the sweeping corners copied from Silverstone, Magus and Beckett's, and so easy to corner cut here, as Jonas might have got one there, but not too sure. It's so easy to corner cut around this first section of the track, and rules are on strict for tonight's race, so hopefully we won't see drivers with too many penalties. But Matt, your daddy, I know, was saying earlier how he wasn't looking forward to the penalties as we got yellow flags in sector 1 and 2. They're swiftly withdrawn. So Kev's needs to fight back. He had a DNF in last week's race. He was involved in the first corner collision in Japan, which sadly sent 3 or 4 drivers towards the wall or with some sort of damage. There's a Red Bull stopped there on the side of the track. Not sure if that's someone who was just waiting for a driver to get through, or if he'd actually stopped and called it a day. It's actually Maverick, so not too sure what's happened there. His car looks intact to me. Perhaps he's just waiting for everyone to go past, yeah, and he's going to get underway again. So Jonas, back over to him. He's in the final sector. This is a blind right-hand corner here coming up. It's really hard to hit your apex. And then he's going to head towards the final corner. Pits on the left, pit entrance. Sweep it, get on the power nice and early. Hold it close to the edge, and it's a 136.6, so sorry, 134.8 is Cobbler's. So he was the Toro Rosso behind the McLaren. Techno Thriller, one of the championship rivals, pumps in a 34.1, so that's perhaps one of our first quickest benchmarks as Ali pops into third, a couple seconds off the pace, just ahead of Jonas though. Who else we got? Kian, 0.4 of a second off Techno Thriller at the moment, so he's got some work to do if he wants to get another pole position here tonight. We've got Lukey, who's coming towards the end of a lap. This has been a slow one. He's obviously made a mistake in there somewhere. Matt, your daddy's teammate, just in front. Let's keep an eye and see what he's about to do as he crosses the line. It's a 135.1, so provisionally 7th place for him. Dweller's nicked inside the top 6. Kev's just ahead of him, very close between those guys. And Matty Daddy isn't far off. Who else has just popped in? Cobblers has just gone even quicker, so he's now up to 5th. Dweller, Matt, your daddy. Gaz is there as well in 9th position, who is swiftly taken by Spider Atlas. So lots of movements here in the opening few minutes, and it's only a 12-minute qualifying session. So I did a practice the other day with some of these guys, and I was caught out by how quickly this session goes. You do your out lap, do one lap, and you got to get straight back in for some new fresh boots. But it's all looking pretty tight at the top there as the Bugster pumps in just under a tenth of a second away from Techno Thriller's flying lap time. Who else has got a set of time? Lukey. What can the defending champion do as Techno Thriller goes even quicker with a 33.8, I believe, so extends his lead over the Bugster to a few tenths. What can Lukey do? Of course, the current champion. He's not in the title fight this season, but he's got one title to his name, and I'm sure he'll be back for vengeance in season 11. But let's follow him around this final part of the section as Kev now pops it into second place. So the Williams man wanted a good result tonight. I know he wants to finish ahead of Bugster. They had a bit of banter earlier over the last couple of days after Bugster's first column, which if you haven't read, www.f1tshub.com, make sure you give it a read, because it is definitely one you wouldn't want to miss. And he talks about how he's finished ahead of Kev every race except for Bahrain, where he was penalised. So he wanted to keep that streak going for the rest of the season. So Kev's here to put an end to that one. Hello to everyone watching, by the way. And we got Sam. Hello, Sam. In Pinnacle tier, of course, which is at 9 o'clock tonight. So we've got 19 drivers here. Been a fantastic turnout. This podium tier hasn't disappointed. As I said earlier on, they've always put on a good show throughout the season, and we've got under 5 minutes left of this qualifying session. So who's going to be the one to take the practice? We'll take this time, as we've got a lot of drivers in the pits, just to run through some standings, as I'm sure everyone would like to know exactly who's in the title fight, so they can be keeping a close eye throughout the race on exactly where they are and what points they'll be looking to score. So Kian leads this with 202 points. Techno Thriller is 12 behind on 190. The Bugster is 173, so he's 17 behind Kian. Lemaine, who isn't racing, won't be racing for the rest of the season. He was next up in 4th. He had a really good season up until the last few races. So 159 points is where he'll sit for the rest of the season. But Dweller in 5th place. He's on 125. He's had some good results recently when he's raced. He missed last week, so his title challenge, he wasn't racing since the beginning of the season, so he hasn't really been able to put one up there, but I'm sure he'll be looking to get a good result tonight nonetheless. The constructors battle is very tight. We'll quickly switch over to that. So you've got Sauber on 315 points, Williams are 258, so Force India 213, so the top two, really, it's going to be about them, but you can't count Force India out. It's a lot of points up for grabs in terms of the constructors, and it'll be interesting to see who's going to come out on top there as well. But here we are, just over 3 minutes left of the session, and we've got 19 drivers, as we said. We've got to wait for them all to come back out onto the track, and then we're going to have this pole position shootout. So here comes Cobblers. He's about to start his next flying lap, currently sitting in 7th position. Cobblers raced in the Pinnacle tier for most of Season 10, but was moved down to a time that suited him, and to a pace that suited him as well. So welcome to the Podium tier again, Cobblers, if we haven't already given you a big welcome. Currently in 7th position, 9/10 of a second off pole. So Techno Thriller, sitting in 2nd in the standings, is currently sitting at the top step for this pole position shootout. You've got just over 2 minutes left of the session, and you're going to need about a minute 40 to get round. So if you leave the pit lane with about 2 minutes to go, then you're definitely going to have enough time to do one fast flying lap. But Oll's in 6th position as well, so he's doing well up there. Only 7/10 of a second, 7.5 of a second off pole. So he's had a good qualifying in Japan, and he looks to have brought that over here to the United States. So best of luck to Haas, who I know are trying to attack Red Bull in the Constructors battle, so we'll keep an eye on Red Bull and Haas tonight and see how they do. But on board with Cobblers as he comes into the final section, slides the rear out of that corner, which is so easy to do here. Oversteer with a high ballast isn't the easiest car to drive, especially when the tyres get a little bit worn, heavy fuel. But Cobblers just about caught that, comes into the last corner, and let's see what lap time he can do. Will he improve? He uses all the runoff area, and he doesn't improve. So 0.8 of a second, or perhaps he did improve just a little bit there. But he's going to get another crack at it anyway. Don't know if he'll be able to run on max fuel the entire lap. But alright, we got everyone out on track except for Tejwar, and Jamie hasn't set a lap time, neither is Emphatix. So Tejwar in the pits, won't be setting a lap time. Emphatix and Jamie, they both are yet to set a time. Kev's about to start a flying lap. Techno Thriller's about to start a flying lap. The Bookster's already on a flying lap, so his first sector is done and dusted. He looks to have that Force India hooked up. He generally always looks to have the car right beneath him when he drives, so it's just going to be interesting to see what he can do. It's so close between those top 3, 4, even Stiflers there, not too far away. Kian you'd expect to be maybe a little bit closer after taking pole in the last race, so we'll keep an eye on him, see whether we get any big movers in this last few seconds of qualifying. Only 10 seconds to go. If you haven't crossed the line, you're leaving it very late. Emphatix and Jamie, as I said, yet to set a competitive lap time. Greenfin and Maverick also way off the pack, so they presumably made mistakes. But Teja will not set a time. Emphatix just crossed the line. He moves up to 10th position, so checker flags out. What's the Bookster going to do? Right on board with him. He pops it up 1.5 tenths away from Techno Thriller's provisional pole. So you have to say that's the front row for him provisionally. What can Kev and the other Williams of Kian do? What can Stifler do? Ols is up there as well in the top 6. Stifler comes across the line. No, sorry. Kian comes across the line and he steals pole position from Techno Thriller. So what's the Sauber driver going to do? What's Duello going to do? You'd expect him to have a say in this as well. So we got Ali cross the line. He's just been moved down by Jamie, who jumps into 13th. Greenfin crosses the line in 17th place. Lukey comes across in 14th. Techno Thriller still to cross the line. He was the provisional pole sitter. Here he comes. Can he take it to Kian? No, he doesn't. The second, Stifler comes into the pits. Cobblers comes into the pits. What about Dweller? The Sauber's up half a second. He goes a little bit wide there. Can he recover this? Half a second isn't enough, of course, for pole position, but it would definitely move him up the grid order, that's for sure. Stifler's retired from the session in the pits. Here comes Dweller. What can the Sauber driver do? Only 8th position, so he wasn't able to improve that much. Perhaps that mistake cost him a little bit of time there in the final sector. But Gaza, the only driver left out on track, but he's on a slow down one, and that's his qualifying finish as well. So pretty interesting qualifying here today, and Kian looks to steal a march on this one in terms of qualifying, but the race is a whole nother story. Just hearing as well as Gaza comes into the pits, we've seen a few, doesn't want to come into the pits. Seen a few incidents with drivers coming into the pits here. It was brought up in the steward's pre-race report that if you want to come into the pits, you need to make your intentions clear, and if you get a bad exit, someone could easily come up your inside to the last corner. You could find yourself cutting across their front wing, but that's for another day as Gaza finally retires, and we're about to get this session over with, and then we'll bring you official confirmation of the results for the United States Grand Prix in Austin. Hearing that there could be a little bit of rain at the end of the race, so that's what Odems is saying on the live chat. A little bit of rain at the end, so as in his words, it's going to be an epic. And here we are as we ride on board a train here. Mavericks in 18th place, and then we'll wait for the official results to come up. So, Kian steals pole position from Techno Thriller, so close between those two, and what a mighty lap it was from Kian to take it in the end. Bookster lines up 3rd, Kev's in 4th, Stifler's in 5th, Olzer's in 6th, Cobbler's is in 7th, Dweller's in 8th, Gazza's in 9th, good result for him. Emphatic's in 10th, Matt Your Daddy's in 11th, Spider Atlas is in 12th, Jamie's in 13th, Lukey's in 14th, Jonas is in 15th, Ali's in 16th, 17th Greenfin, 18th Maverick, and Teshwara wasn't able to set lap time, so he will start in 19th position, right at the back. And yeah, it does look a little bit cloudy in that shot there, but we'll wait and see what the race is like before we get too excited on what the weather's going to do. So, drivers are all just getting connected on the left-hand side of the screen, as you can see, and then we'll set up our telemetry of what we need to see at the start, and then we'll get the formation lap underway. Not long now until these drivers have to get themselves on the grid. They'll be selecting fuel strategies, selecting pit stop strategies. You'd think most of them by now would know exactly what strategy they'll be aiming for, but it's all a bit in the air until you get through, you'd have to say, the first few corners unscathed, and then you can really either stick to your strategy or try and reinvent something for the rest of the race. But formation lap's underway. If you do see any disqualifications pop up, it is only from the formation lap, so you don't need to worry about anyone getting disqualified just yet. But there was an incident last week in the Pinnacle tier where a Williams driver drove extremely slowly on the formation lap, and the stewards investigated it so that there was no rule against it, but due to keeping the stream and the drivers waiting on the grid, there'll be a rule introduced for next week's race that'll look to end any driver looking to perhaps get a little bit of a mental edge on their teammates by crawling around the grid, around the track, whilst their rivals wait on the grid. So a little bit of technical insight there for you. As yeah, this front three, Kian, Techno Thrill and Bugster, they're the ones fighting for the championship. They line up 1st, 2nd and 3rd, and that's exactly how they are in the standings at the moment, but the important one's how they cross the line. And Kian will be happy with his night's work so far, but Techno Thrill and Bugster, they ain't gonna give him ain't gonna give much room. And look at Kev as well behind, so Kian will be looking for his teammate to perhaps get in front of one, if not both, of those guys at the start. And we have seen that Kev does do really well off the grid from the manual start, so it'll be interesting to see whether he can, you know, sling one up the inside, as Stifler looks to do on him on the formation lap. So he's another one to watch, 5th place, and he's actually sliding all over the place. So get the car under control, and the computer will take over and take you nicely to your pit box. So that's one less thing you need to worry about. Dweller in 8th place as well, so Techno Thriller perhaps will be hoping that he can move up the order and try and unsettle the guys at the front, because he does have the pace generally, does Dweller, so we'll keep an eye on him. Gaza, that's a good result from him up to 9th. When he puts in the practice, he really is able to get in that top 10. So be looking to see what the Red Bull can do. Remember, Red Bull versus Haas, that's a close one at the bottom of the constructors, but just as important as the guys at the top. So here we are, we're all on the grid, we'll wait for the 5 lights to come on, and here we go. Here's a front row start. Kian looks to be ghosting on my screen, not sure if that's correct. No, it's, we all get underway. Looks pretty good, looks pretty safe. No one seems to have got too much of a poor start, not too many position changes. We feed into turn 1, they all look really cautious. Bit of a bottleneck there, there's a Toro Rosso spinning, I'm not sure who else that was, but Kian and Techno Thriller going side by side. They look to be locked and hopping all over the place. Excuse me, not actually sure what's going on there, but they all feed through these fast S's. Looks like Kian's in 1st place still, but perhaps a little bit of lag or something involved there, because they were stuck together. Kev's got the Bookster up to 3rd, then he'll have a smile on his face after that one. Bookster's down a position. Other than that, we've got Jamie has moved up 5, and Conning, so he's lost dearly out of that, down in 19th place. But look at the gaps, no one over a second on the entire field, so it's looking pretty bunched up as we're seeing so many cars exit onto the main straight. This is fantastic. Doesn't look too... let's go have a quick look and see whether Cobblers has any damage on his car. He does have a bit of right end plate damage, so the Toro Rosso is going to be driving with damage. But here comes a lineup onto Tejuar, slings it down the inside, get the car stopped. Tejuar just gives him a room, little bit of a squeeze maybe, but he's going to have to do better than that. Oh, and he slings it back down the inside, touches the side pod. You'd have to say that was a late move, but one that was definitely on the cards. Thinks about the inside to next one. Needs to make sure he gets a good exit. Where's Tejuar? Tejuar gives up the position. So one Mercedes down, another one in front. And we'll switch through the field. Green Finn's up 4 position, so up to 13th place on his search for points. As Kian sets the fastest lap, being the leader of the race. That's confirmation that he is there. Look at that line of cars. And 2 DRS straights after we complete 2 laps. So this will be interesting to see who's running high downforce, who's running low. We're seeing a Sauber look to the inside there of the House of Ols. And what about the Bookster? Can he get that position back? You can see there's 2 championship rivals almost pushing each other along the track. 4/10 of a second now between those 2. And we've only got 3 cars which are outside DRS. So let's hope this continues. And this is fantastic stuff. Nice and clean on the first lap. And this is exactly what F1 TS Hub is all about. Kian leads this one. Technotrill is in second. Kev's up to third. Let's take a look down the order and see if we got anyone daring a move down into the heavy braking zone for the long straight. Empatic is up 1 into 9th. He's got Gaza, who lost a position. Looks to have got a good run, so we'll ride on board with this one as we head down. No DRS, of course. We need to complete 2 laps before we can get that. And Jamie just ahead there as well. Empatic's lots of brakes, but keeps the position. Needs to be careful. There's so many cars around you that if you try a move that doesn't work out, you're going to lose 3 or 4 positions. So perhaps it's better to wait till you have DRS and be sure of a move rather than risking something. But they're racing drivers, and risk is what they take every corner that they go around. Spider Atlas staying in his position, but all over the back of the Ferrari of Matt Your Daddy. Is he going to try something here into the penultimate corner around the outside? Yeah, looks like Matt Your Daddy just kind of he's in the pit. So is there wing damage on that Ferrari? Looks not too sure actually whether there is or not. There possibly is left end plate damage. We'll follow him on board and we'll see whether he fits a new front wing or if he just fancies a change of tyres. He is. So wing damage for Matt Your Daddy, and perfectly enters the pits, and he'll be back underway setting some quick laps. He is using manual gears for the first time, so just keep an eye on that one. And Dweller and Lukey both get themselves a time penalty on lap 3. DRS is now enabled, so Kev's just out of DRS, so is the Bookster, but most of the rest of the field other than Spider Atlas is in DRS, and there's going to be a few position changes perhaps into this heavy braking zone after the long straight. We'll keep an eye, and let's flick over and see who's on what tyre, because we didn't do that on the formation lap. We've got Spider Atlas on the soft, Jonas on the supers, Ali's on the supers, Maverick's on the supers. Matt Your Daddy switched on to a new set of ultras. So pit stops, we've only got Matt Your Daddy to complete a pit stop as Emphatic takes Gaza. So they're squabbling for position here. Here we go. Tight corner this one. Gaza holds it around the outside. He's gonna have to pick his line for the next corner because Emphatic can, retry, but nope. That's the position done. Jonas has just gone down one and back up the inside. So we've got a McLaren versus a Renault versus a Ferrari sneaking on the inside. Lukey, what an opportunistic move. Just taken all of them. Jonas is still there. That's so close, but they kept it all clean. You got the Renault there as well, just so close behind. It's fantastic racing here. And 5-second penalties for Oz. Here we go into the final corner. The Renault on the McLaren, the Ferrari seem to have get away. Here we go down the inside. No, Lukey goes defensive, kind of stops the Renault Spider Atlas, and Lukey goes deep. So we're going to go 3 wide here. Fantastic stuff this is, absolutely right on the limit of racing, searching for track position all over the corners, and it's Spider Atlas who ends up in front. As we saw, Gaz is in the wall. Gaz is in the wall, front wing damage. He's lucky not to lose a tyre hitting the wall at that speed. But he'll be back underway and he'll be visiting the pits, that's for sure. Oz came in, so he's on a set of ultra softs according to this graphic, but according to the other graphic it's supers. Techno has taken excuse me, Techno Thriller has taken the lead, so he's got the position over Kian, and Kev seems to have closed in as well, so perhaps there's we missed that one. We were too excited by the battle for 10th place, but it was definitely one that we didn't want to miss. And Kev is in 3rd position, right on the back of his teammate, so you have to say he's more of a rear gunner than a threat, but you just don't know. He might fancy a few more points here today. Dweller's up to 6th position, by the way, so Oz down in 17th after stopping, and Dweller moves up to 6th. And DRS here for these guys at the front. Who's going to be able to benefit? According to my graphic, Kian isn't using his. Whether that's true or not, it's yet to be found out, but disappointing we missed this one, the lead change. Dweller's in the pits though, so Dweller's coming to the pits. Doesn't look like any wing damage, but he's going for a new set of boots. Spider Atlas on the soft tyres now up to 8th position, so his strategy is coming into play perhaps, as we also see Jonas go into the pits, so both of them are going to fall down the order while a few drivers move up position. Met Your Daddy gets a penalty, Ali gets a penalty. We do know there'll be lots of them come the end of the race, but that's just the nature of this circuit. And look at this, Kian all over the back of Techno Thriller. This is going to be a race long battle. We ain't going to miss it this time. Pulls out a DRS. He isn't using the DRS. It's definitely not open of Kian. I'm not sure why. But the flap's definitely not opening on my screen, so I'm not sure if that's why he was passed or if the DRS is broken or something like that, but it's definitely flashing up as though he can use it. Kev meanwhile is under attack from the Bugster, so the Bugster finding a bit of pace, and look at that, Stifler's coming to join the party as well, so the top 5 so close, and it's just going to be a race long battle, I'm sure of it, and one that we are very excited to see. Jamie up to 6th position, so he just had a great start, and he's up in 6th, and that's going to be 8 points if he finishes there. And he ran driver of the day last week in Japan after finishing 4th, so he's looking to continue that momentum into today's race. Emphatic up to 7th. Force India need the points if they want to challenge the top 2, so he needs to drive for all he's worth in 7th position. Of course, one of our premium members, so massive thank you to Empatix, as all of our premium members, for their support. As Techno Thriller gets a 3-second penalty, is that going to be key come the end of the race? We'll have to find out, but if you want to find out, you got another 22 laps to go before we know who's going to win this race, and I don't want it to come too soon at all, because look at these front 4 separated by tenths of tenths, and Kian looks to really line up Techno Thriller into this braking zone, but Techno Thriller making sure he gets a good exit, and we'll see this time, will Kian use his DRS? No, he's not opening it. Very strange indeed that Kev isn't opening his DRS. Switch over to the one-bot battle going on behind, and we can see the Bookster versus Kev. Bookster thinks about it. Kev doesn't really seem fazed by it, so perhaps he feels confident on the brakes tonight. But these front 4, absolutely astonishing. Not leaving anything on the table here tonight, and really showcasing what this podium tier has been like this, you know, throughout the entire season. So I can only thank them as a commentator for such splendid racing. And here we go, Bookster's all over the back of Kev, and the other Williams is all over the back of Techno Thriller. A little bit of a gap in between, which is perhaps going to hurt Kev if he can't get within that DRS zone, but seems to have done just that. He must have heard me. No DRS this time though, missed the detection point. Into turn 1, you've got to make sure the guy sees you on the outside, otherwise it is a bottleneck corner, and it's so easy to sling it up the inside and not be able to slow your car down. But we got Stifler and Emphatix in the pits, so both coming into the pits, and Stifler's gone on to the soft tyre. Sorry, yeah, Stifler's gone onto the soft tyre, and Emphatix is having a wind change, and he's going onto a soft tyre, or super soft tyre. Hard to tell with the graphics, but they'll fall down the order. Green Finn, meanwhile, always has a big fan base here at F1 TS Hub, all over the back of Stifler as he comes out the pits, and he's currently in 9th position, so let's flick up to the front. We don't want to miss these guys. They look stuck together on my screen, Whether they are, I don't think that's the normal way you go down the straight with your championship rival, but perhaps we're a little bit desyncing here, as they are literally nose to tail and pushing each other along. So disappointing for us to see that, but not much we can do. And let's see, Kev versus the Bugster, as the front two are stuck side by side, bumping each other all over the place. That is just lag issue. Not too sure if that's Kian taking the lead. Looks like Kian taking the lead. Whether that's true or not, I'm not too sure, but we'll commentate on it if it is. Kian retakes the lead, lap 7, and Techno Thriller dives into the pits. Yeah, Techno Thriller dives into the pits, so gets his car slowed down, and he's the first one of the front runners to come into the pits. Bookster also follows him in, so you presume they're going for an early stop onto the soft tyre to take that to the end. They're both looking for the undercut on their rivals, so this pit stop and this outlap is absolutely key. Techno Thriller gone on to the supers, so he is doing a 2-stop. Techno Thriller's committed himself to a 2-stop, and the Bookster's gone for a 1. It'll be really interesting to see which one plays out the better strategy. Lukey also in the pits now, excuse me, from 8th position, so he'll drop down the order as we see yellow flags in sector 3. So Kian leading this race. Kev just behind is a Williams 1-2. Jamie now up to 3rd position as Ali gets a stop-go for speeding in the pit lane. If he had as many stop-go penalties as he did points, I'm sure he'd be a happy man, but really struggling with that, slowing the car down coming into the pits. Jamie, meanwhile, as I mentioned, up into 3rd. Techno Thriller comes out in 4th position just behind Jamie, so Techno Thriller is going to be important for him to get a good outlap and clear this Toro Rosso on the older tyres. But Bookster just behind a few seconds on the softs, and presumably going to the end. Who's fallen down the order there? Tejwar in 10th position, Dweller currently in 9th. So perhaps after this next lap 8, we will run through exactly who's pitted and who hasn't, as Techno Thriller now sizes up Jamie to get himself back onto the podium. But it's going to cost him through here a bit of time, unless he can sling it down the inside. No, he's going to go for a better exit, goes wide, and that'll hamper him. Kian's in the pits, so our race leader coming into the pits. And what will happen here? Will Techno Thriller get the undercut? This is going to be very important. Kev can't pit, of course. Gazza gets a 3-second time penalty, and Techno Thriller is stuck behind Jamie. So where's Kev going to come out in relation to this? Where's Kian going to come out in relation to this? Surely Techno Thriller is going to get the job done with DRS, but I can't see a Williams exiting the pit lane. I can now, and Techno Thriller's definitely got the undercut, but he's got to pit again. Kian's chosen the soft tyres. Got Tejwar now in the pits from 10th place in the Mercedes, so he's called it a day on those tyres. Maverick up into the top 10. Don't often see him there, so shout out to him for that one, and he'll be looking to push forward more from there. Stifler is right with his teammate now, the two Renault, lovely looking yellow and black car as they follow each other on the exit of the first sector. And Stifler surely going to be saying to his teammate, please mate, let me through, I'm fighting for a possible podium here. And Spider Atlas gives up the position. You have to